is Joe Jones. My Anishinaabe name is Makanak Nishnakas. Totemoashi. Respecting our elders comes within our Anishinaabe way of life. To understand our Anishinaabe way of life is to understand one's own self. For all that lives out there and all that our way of life provides for us. Provides for our medicines, what we eat, what we drink, what we smell. When we spend our time out there with Mother Nature, the inside of our heart grows with those 7 grandfather teachings. And one, to understand them all is to know one's own self. So if you can live all that provides for us each and every day, it's an honor to respect all that and respect all that lives. Even the ones you don't agree with or disagree or it's a natural ability to understand our life. Respecting our elders comes with a teaching of a lifetime.
As an elder within our First Nation communities, I must speak on a pressing concern that deeply affects us all: elder abuse. Elder abuse within our Anishinaabe Nation communities is a deeply concerning issue that involves the mistreatment of elders, who are often respected as keepers of our culture, traditions on the land, and our wisdom. Addressing and preventing this abuse requires a multifaceted approach that respects our unique cultural values and leverages community strengths and brings about educating our communities on this issue. We elders serve as protectors of spiritual and traditional knowledge, our language and cultural customs and values that deeply hold place of respect and honor within our Anishinaabe Nation communities. This educational video is a practical guide to understanding and preventing elder abuse within our First Nation communities.
Elder abuse is not always physical. There are many forms of elder abuse, such as mistreatment, demeaning an elder, yelling, and financial exploitation, and each damaging within its own right. Neglect occurs when a caregiver fails to adequately care for an elder, potentially excluding them from family activities or ignoring their basic needs. Self-neglect is when elders themselves fail to maintain their health and hygiene. Physical abuse includes any form of physical harm, from slapping to shoving. Institutional abuse happens within facilities and can encompass various abuses, including neglect and exploitation. Guardianship abuse involves a guardian misusing their power for personal gain. Financial exploitation is the misuse of an elder's funds or assets, and sexual abuse ranges from unwanted touching to rape. Finally, emotional or spiritual abuse can involve verbal assaults or demeaning behavior, which can be particularly harmful in First Nations communities where elders hold a secret role as keepers of knowledge and culture. Disrespecting elders not only harms the individual, but can also deeply affect the community's spiritual health and cultural continuity. It is vital to understand and respect these cultural dimensions when addressing and preventing abuse. When one of our elders chooses to speak up, it is crucial for us to listen intently and ask thoughtful questions to reassure them that they bear no blame for the abuser's actions. We must explore options together and, most importantly, honor their perspectives. Often, it is a family member who are the perpetrators of this abuse. If an elder confides in us about such matters, we must approach these conversations with compassion and without judgment, affirming that they are not at fault. We should encourage them to reach out to authorities or trusted individuals, be it family members, doctors, or nurses. It's also vital to emphasize the availability of elder abuse hotlines or even Crime Stoppers, where they can seek help anonymously. This support is essential in protecting their dignity and safety. Speaking up about experiencing abuse is tremendously difficult. Let us remember, no one deserves to be mistreated or abused. Elder abuse remains a hidden epidemic that severely affects the health and well-being of our elders, our families, and our First Nation communities. For those among us needing support, there are 24/7 hotlines available that provide free and confidential help and referrals. As members of our First Nation, you can also access free mental wellness counseling through the Anishinaabe Nation's Community Assistant Program, which is available around the clock every day of the week. You are worried about an elder? Do not hesitate to contact your local police or Crime Stoppers. It is within our power to end the silence and stop the abuse inflicted on our elders. To conclude, let's always remember, all forms of elder abuse are completely unacceptable. Every elder has the inherent right to live without fear and to be safe. As a community, it is our profound duty to uphold these rights and to respond swiftly and effectively whenever they are threatened.
To honor our elders is to provide for them in the time of needs when they no longer can go out and provide for themselves with the foods that we gather from Mother Nature, the medicines to help them along in their late journeys of life. To watch over them and visit and talk about their life of what they learned, passing on our way of life and teachings with all they know about, and honor that in our way of life. So many stories, so many legends to be told. It's not written for the understanding of our way of life. It comes and gathers each and every day. Each day is a new beginning, a new start. We have learned through our mistakes, being born to sitting here as an elder, and to grow with that goodness of life, and to honor that as teachers to the younger kids, and learn how to get along with all that out there. To take what we need, to honor our hunting, our animals, and all that it brings to us. Walking by a lake, canoeing past a lake, looking at the surroundings, understanding those seasons and the colors that we see. The picturesque of our beauty belongs to our mothers. That brings us. When you hear that through your heart, you begin to understand your true identity as a Anishinaabe person. When you swim with the water and all that lives in that water, and the wind will whisper to you. You'll see our ancestry in the skies, in the water, and everything that lives. It's a beautiful and amazing way of life. As I sit here in this day and age, talking about what's out there, I do a little of this in the schools, from kindergarten to grade 12s. Take them on the land to do some trapping, hunting, just walking through the bush. It's our children that are really getting excited about our life today. And they're asking for it. They want to do more. For all that we live through today, it's a battle again to bring that goodness in our way of life to that young generation. But it makes us happy as an elder in our spirituality, for them to wanting more and understanding that and putting the language in there. Not what I've been taught on the Western education system. The rules and regulations hold us back to be who we want to be, but our true identity as one's own self. To understand those teachings from our grandfathers and grandmothers in all life.
Elder abuse in Canada frequently occurs at the hands of individuals known and trusted by the victim, with family members being the most common perpetrators, responsible for 60% of these incidences. It is estimated that between 4 and 10% of older adults in Canada experience some form of abuse, yet only 1 in 5 cases are reported to authorities or professionals who can offer assistance. This issue is deeply intensified within our First Nation communities, where our elders confront unique vulnerabilities. Not only do many of our elders experience higher rates of poverty and health issues, but they also bear the scars of significant historical discrimination. These challenges are legacies of systematic injustices that have persisted over generations, further complicating the efforts to protect and support our elders. Understanding and addressing these factors is crucial in our fight against elder abuse in our communities. A Health Canada report highlights that the First Nations seniors may be more susceptible to elder abuse due to the intergenerational effects of residential schools, discrimination in healthcare, and social isolation. As an elder, I speak of the profound challenges we face in sharing our stories of abuse rooted deeply in the scars left by the Indian residential schools, Indian day school, training institutes, Indian boarding homes, Indian hospitals and asylums, the 60 Scoop, and the ongoing intervention in child welfare. Institutions like the Indian Training School and Indian hospitals were set up with the intention to assimilate our youth by teaching them vocational skills and to manage their health, supposedly to control diseases. Yet these places often reflected the abuse and neglectful environments of the residential school. They were notorious for their unethical practices, including conducting experiments without our consent and suppressing our culture, which ultimately deepened the traumas and widened educational gaps within our community. In recent years, there has been some acknowledgement of these grave injustices, leading to formal apologies, compensation measures, and efforts to control reconciliation.
To former students of Indian residential schools, the treatment of children in Indian residential schools is a sad chapter in our history. In the 1870s, the federal government, partly in order to meet its obligations to educate Aboriginal children, began to play a role in the development and administration of these schools. 2 primary objectives of the residential school system were to remove and isolate children from the influence of their home, families, traditions, and cultures, and to assimilate them into the dominant culture. These objectives were based on the assumption that Aboriginal cultures and spiritual beliefs were inferior and unequal. Indeed, some sought, as was infamously said, to kill the Indian in the child.
These efforts include reviving our First Nation culture, language, and traditions, and reforming healthcare and education to be more respectful and inclusive. Understanding these painful parts of our history is crucial as we continue to seek healing and upholding our sovereignty as First Nations people in Canada.
To understand the verbal abuse of not taking care of our elders and their children. The loneliness they feel. No one visits. When they need to go somewhere, it's a hard time for them. And the way we look after our elders today, it's come and go. Go and do their, cook a little bit for them, and then they're on their way. Not enough time for them to do what the others are asking. Someone to talk to as they sit and eat. See, today's regulations, the rules, only 2 hours to go over there, the elder, and cook them lunch and do dishes, and out they go. They don't have the time. Like I said, the rules and regulations. In the good old days, we always talk about or mention, is when you went to visit an elder, you talk to him. You listen to him. Once he starts telling stories, time doesn't exist. It's a teaching that they pass on. So bringing back our elders and to honor them is to be with them. And sometimes they get so lonely. Nobody seems to care. And their medicines, I seen a friend of mine taking about 32 pills a day. I went to visit him about 10, 11 o'clock. I stayed there for a couple hours. Come home and he called me back. So I went up there again. Can you come up here? Yes, I did. I went up there and talked to him. Where were you yesterday? See, with all the pills, his memory going. Pills for diabetes, pills for this, pills for that. So we counted these pills. That's all I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. It's just, but there's 32 pills a day. So I don't know. And when we go see a doctor, they always right away prescribe pills and more pills and more. And our elders are just, I don't know. To me, that's abuse, because it's not good anyway. Put it that way. Like Mother Nature always hears us. When we walk out there, ride, doesn't matter if we're riding our vehicles or not. And when you can understand that, they talk to us, talk to all our people really. But to understand that, we need to go back to our way of life. And understand those 7 grandfather teachings. And then we'll grow stronger and stronger.
Anin, Selena Balodijnikas, Gitagon Zibi Don Jaba, Ajajak and Dodem.
Bojo. Kisha wana quit Niznikas, Makede Makwa Doram, Gitagon Zibi Don Jaba.
Carol Jones, Dijnikas, Tgan CB, Don Jaba. Chijab Dodem.
Can you say hi? My name's Leo. You're Leo?
Roger, Gordon was kitchen to Gasson on the wind back to a chia. James Vega Shingadet, Moscagan Shingada and Gadivitia.
My English name is Joe Jones. My Anishinaabe name is Makanak Nishnakas. Totem Washi.